Okay, so yeah, everyone can pin yourself to Educate Lab so we can see the presentation. Okay, so the topic today we're going to deal with is cell. We all know about cell. We've been hearing about cell, but we don't know the details of it. So today we'll go into the details of what is cell, where it is found, what is the shape, what is the size, who are the scientists involved in them, and lastly, the most important point is the parts of the cell. Okay, so we'll be dealing with all those things. Please do not speak in between. What happens is it breaks the flow that I am conducting because it is difficult. Y'all are not present in front of me, so it's difficult for me to judge whether y'all know or y'all don't know. Only when I ask you, please do raise your doubts. Okay. Okay. Start with cell. Let's go to our first slide.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
King.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
My voice is breaking. Okay. I'll try to adjust my position. Okay. Now, is my voice breaking now? I'm clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. 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 So let's first go to our first slide. We'll begin with a presentation. Okay. So first we are beginning with the scientist slide. So we want to know that who is the person who is responsible for this. Okay, so there was a scientist called as Robert Hooke. Okay, and somewhere around 1600. So if I'm talking 1600, I mean around 400 years ago. Okay, around 400 years ago, he was the person who discovered that there is something in the living things, in the non-living things, some object is there, and he termed it as cell. So what did he take? What he took the bark cells. He took the bark cells, BARK, bark. We say no, the tree bark. So he took the tree bark cells and he studied them under some special kind of an instrument which he made. So here on the left hand side you can see the bark cells that it was visible to him in the black and white. Okay, he observed some square like structures he observed, and he observed it through his optical instrument, which is known as one of the first microscopes discovered. So the one of the first microscopes discovered was the simple microscope. Okay, so the simple microscope that discovered was by Robert Hooke in 1600, and what he observed was bark cells. Now, if you all don't know this, okay, the bark cells, the tree bark cells are dead. They are not living. Okay, what is living in the bark cell is there right inside. So if I'm going to break the bark, I'm going to cut the bark, like how we cut. So the inside portion would be living, but the outside portion is dead. So when he observed that, he was the first person to observe something in a dead organism. Okay, so what he termed that time was cell. Why he termed it as cells? Because it reminded him of the prisons in which the prisoners were kept, and that is why he termed that as cell. Okay. After that came the scientist Antony van Leeuwenhoek. So after, see, Robert Hooke gave a breakthrough in biology saying that there are cells. Okay. After that, there was Antony van Leeuwenhoek who said that there are there are these cells even in living things also. So he observed cells in the living organism. So these two scientists are very important in the cell history. One observed that there are cells, okay, but he observed it in dead things. So he observed it in the bark tree, in the bark of the tree. And the second scientist was Antony van Leeuwenhoek, and he observed it in a living organism. And all these phenomenon has happened around 350 to 400 years ago. Okay, so we are talking about cell. The knowledge of cell came into the picture long back ago. Long back ago, we came to know what are cells. Okay, so we'll go to the first. We'll go to the next slide. Okay. After they discovered this, okay, then there were two scientists. The one scientist name was Scleden, and the other scientist name was Schwann. Okay, so both of these scientists gave a theory, and that theory is known as a cell theory. And today also that cell theory is valid, and everyone is agreeing to it. Okay, what does that theory say? State that all living organisms, okay, are made up of cells. Okay, and if you are living, cells must be a part of you. You are made up of cells. Okay, the basic functional and structural unit for you is going to be a cell. Okay, and that cell may be sometimes singular or sometimes multicellular. If I mean singular, I'm talking about organisms like amoeba, paramecium, virus, bacteria. Okay, all those would be unicellular. Okay, once I'm talking about multicellular, I can mean trees, human beings, animals. They all are made up of not only one cell but many cells. Okay, so we are talking about all living things. They all are made up of cells. That could be one cell or it could be many cells. Okay, and cell is the basic unit of life. It's a very important sentence. Wherever you want, you can note it down. Cell is the basic unit of life. Okay, without cell, nothing in the life is going to work. In living things, nothing works. Okay, and we call cell as the structural and functional unit of life. Now let me explain the structural and functional unit of life. Okay, when last time we were dealing with kidney, I told you that the kidney is made up of many cells, and one cell of a kidney is known as nephron. Okay, so as per the kidney, the structure of that cell was nephron. So it became the structural unit of life for the kidney. And functional, whatever function one nephron, the entire kidney does that same function. So you say cell is the structural and functional unit of life. This is very important. Please write it down somewhere. Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Okay. And whenever we have cells, cells are coming from pre-existing cells. Cells just don't come from nowhere. Okay, we are not talking about some invisible force that is creating the cells out of nowhere. No, being produced from pre-existing cells. So we spoke about examples. I'm talking a little bit more complicated examples. We're talking about the cells that are present in our blood. The cells that are present in our blood, we're talking about RBCs, WBCs that we studied about. Those cells, I told you all, are coming from the bone. Correct? So bone contains those the basic material for manufacturing those cells again and again. So they are coming from the bone marrow itself. So cells come from pre-existing cells. Okay, a small baby is born to a small dog is born or a cat is born from the mother and father, cat or dog only, not from anyone else. Okay, when the hen is giving rise to is giving birth to egg, it is coming from the hen itself. The egg is not coming out nowhere. So all cells are coming from pre-existing cells only. They don't come from nowhere. So this Scleden and Schwann theory is very important. It is known as the cell theory, and it is valid. Nobody has challenged it. It is just simply three sentences which says that all living things are made up of cells. Cell is the structural and functional unit of life, and cells come from pre-existing cells only. They don't come out from nowhere. So you're not creating or destroying things. You are taking it from something else and you are making the cells only. Okay, next. Okay, so these are all different types of cells. These are some of them, okay, some of them. We're not talking about all, okay. These are very some few cells that we've got the picture of, okay. You can see how differently they are colored, how differently they are shaped. They have got different envelopes around them. Okay, they have got different types of moving things which we call them as flagella. So all cells, according to their own type, they would be of different shapes. So all cells are made up of different shapes. Next. Okay, cells have different sizes also. Normally we say that these things, microorganisms are there. So we say they are in the range of micro range. Okay, but sometimes we see cells that are bigger than the micro range also. Sometimes the cells are in the micro range. They are probably lesser than the micro range. Sometimes they are more than the micro range also. Okay, so cells are of different sizes. If you're going to see here, you will see what is the size of an atom. The size of an atom goes somewhere in 0.1 millimeter. Okay, then we're talking about the
Ma'am, 0.1 nanometer.
oh sorry, yeah, 0.1 nanometer. Then we are talking about the fullerene structure, that is one of the carbon forms. Okay, that is in the millimeter range. Okay, we spoke about the single uh, we spoke in digestion, no, that each and every carbohydrates, proteins, fats, they all are made up of beads, small pearl beads. So the pearls of your fats are called as lipids. So you can see lipids are in that 1 millimeter range. Okay. Then we have got some viruses, some proteins. They are also in that millimeter range. Okay. Then as we come more here towards the right side, you will see that there is flu virus, there are bacteria, and there are mitochondria. They all are in the micrometer range. Okay, correct. And then as we go more further down, we see one animal cell, one plant cell. They are in the micrometer range. So they are again in that micro range where you have to see them with a microscope. Okay, and then you have got more further down. If you go a bigger one, so we're talking about the human egg cells, the frog egg cells, they are in 1 millimeter range. Okay. When we talk about an egg, egg is also made up of one cell. An egg, we're talking about a chicken egg or whatever egg. Okay, that is also one cell. So in that way, if we go to see the biggest cell that we're talking about, That would be the egg cell of an ostrich. The egg cell of an ostrich is made up of some meters. It's like very, very big. Okay. So we have got different sizes of cells. We have cells of different shapes also, and we have cells of different sizes also. Okay. Next. Now we want to see that how these cells are and where these cells are and where can we see them. Okay. So if for example seeing in your body, you are an entire organism, okay, and the entire organism that you're talking about yourself, you are made up of many organ systems. We spoke about all those organ systems. We spoke about digestive system, muscular system. We spoke about uh, excretory system and so on. Okay. Now, if I take any one particular organ system, let's say I've taken the digestive system, it is made up of different organs. Like the digestive system is made up of stomach, liver, small intestine, large intestine. If I go into one particular organ, let's say here we have taken the example of one particular organ, that is the liver. Okay. If I see more deeply into it, go more inside it, I see that made up of different tissues. Now I'll tell you how. If you see that the outer layer, instead of this, let's take the example of a heart. Okay. Let's imagine that there is a heart here. So the outermost layer of the heart is made up of a tissue called as epithelium, which is like how exactly we have a skin. So that is the skin of the heart. Okay, so there will be a skin of the heart. If I remove the skin and if I go to the next level, I will see that there will be muscular cells. So you will see that there are muscular tissues. Okay, if I go more inside it, then I will see that there are blood vessels. So those are the blood cells, correct? If I go more inside, I will see also nerves. I will see nervous tissue also, because nerves are what is connecting it to the brain. So one particular organ is made up of many tissues. Not only one tissue, to be made up of many tissues. So tissue is basically a collection of cells. There in a tissue there may be millions of cells, there may be thousands of cells, depending upon the size of the tissue. Okay, if you take one onion, if you take one leaf, that onion is made up of many leaves, right? Small leaves, one over the other. If I take that one particular onion leaf, and if I peel one small out of it, that one peel is called tissue, and that tissue is made up of many cells. So that's how we come to the cells. So each and every part of our body is made up of cells. Each and every part of our body. Okay. Similar way we'll compare it for a plant also. For the plant, we'll go from right to left. You have got the entire plant there on the right side. Let's take one particular organ. We're talking about the leaf, the shoot system. There's a shoot system, there is a root system. We're taking the shoot system. In the shoot system, there are branches, there are sub branches, there are stems, small stems, bigger stems, then there are leaves. Now we're going to a leaf. If in the leaf I see more clearly, I will see that leaf is made up of many layers of tissue. That leaf is made up of an outer waxy layer so that it does not lose water. Inside it is made up of a tissue layer which contains the chlorophyll cells. Inside it will be made up of one tissue which is helping to make the water reach to the plant. Inside there will be one more tissue which will be helping that the food that the plant is making, the leaf is making, should go to all the other body parts. So all these different tissues are there. Okay. And when I see that tissue more closely under the microscope, I'll see it is made up of one particular. So this is how you find cell in each and every organism. Okay, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking a little.
Okay. Next.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We'll go to the next slide. So cell is called as the building block of life. Like how you are, if you've seen any construction site, what happens there at the construction site? What do? They are making the walls. To make the walls, what they do, they put one brick, one brick in. First, they put the first line of brick, then they will put cement over it, then they'll put the other brick line, then again they'll put cement over it. So you imagine that the cells are like those bricks. They are the building blocks, but of living things. So we call cell as the building block of life. And as I told you before also, cells are called as the structural and functional unit of life. The human body is composed of many cells, okay? And all those cells have particular function. We just spoke about different tissues, no? So all there are different types of cells. They do different functions, okay? So we'll go to the next slide. What is the function of the cell? Okay. First of all, so it is giving a structure. That's what I told you. It's giving a structure to your body. Whatever structure is there of the cell, that all those cells together, they will meet up and they will form that particular tissue. Then that tissue will join together with other tissues and will form an organ. So if you say muscle cells, the structure is long. Why they are long? Because muscles have to be long, no? The muscles have to be such that they are getting connected to two different bones so that you can move those two bones simultaneously. So the structure, so that is why the muscles are long. You'll find that the muscles are big muscles. You don't have small muscles. So they are giving a structure for your body. Okay. Inside the cell, if you go, the parts of the cell are called as cell organelles. Okay. This cell organelles are doing the function individually. I'm talking about each and every cell. They are doing the function of, they are making proteins, they're making many other chemicals, they're generating energy for your body, they're doing a lot of function. Okay. The other important function of cell is the cell inside has got a nucleus. Okay, that is the main control body of your cell. Okay, that control body will tell your cell what to do. How does the muscle cell know that it has to only contract and relax? How does the nephron in the kidney know that it has to do the process of filtration? How does the nerve cell know that it has to only do the function of passing information from one part of the body to the other part of the body? How does the optic cells in your eyes, we studied the eye structure. How does those eye cells know that they have to capture the image and send it to the brain for processing? All that information is given by the nucleus, and the nucleus is the control room of the cell. Okay. And another important part what is present in the nucleus is your DNA. Okay. So your DNA is just uh, the main function which is telling a muscle cell to work as a muscle cell. The DNA is responsible for everything. That is why a cow's baby will look like a cow. A human baby will look like a human. Okay. Coronavirus, one virus is multiplying into many viruses. That virus has got DNA inside it, which is telling, okay, yes, we have to multiply and look like my parents' cell only. Okay. So your DNA is very important, which is present in the nucleus of the cell. Right? Next.
Ma'am, what does DNA stand? What does DNA stand for?
What?
What does DNA stand for?
DNA stands for deoxyribose nucleic acid. Okay, it is the material which carries the information of why you are looking like your parent and not looking like your neighbor. That is the information because of which, if you have seen Jurassic Park Part 1, you will see that how they have shown that how they have extracted the DNA from the blood that was bit by the mosquito millions of years ago. That mosquito had bit a dinosaur. This is all made in the picture. It is not real, huh? But the technology is what they're showing is will help you understand it, that how that mosquito had bit into a dinosaur, and after biting into a dinosaur the blood came into the stomach of the mosquito. That mosquito was not killed, the mosquito got into the wax of one particular tree, so it was preserved. Means that mosquito got preserved. Because the mosquito got preserved, the blood was also preserved inside it. Then they removed it, then they removed the DNA structure of it, so they came to know how the DNA structure of the dinosaurs were looking like, and then they brought into the picture the entire dinosaur. Okay, so from DNA it is possible to create anything and everything. Today, they have also made from DNA some body parts. They're not able to make the entire organism, but they're making different body parts from the one structure of one strand of DNA.
So, ma'am, we can make anything out of DNA of an organism.
Yes, you can, but it is difficult. It requires a lot of knowledge, requires a lot of work done, lot many trials, then only it is possible. Okay. Up till here, any questions related to cells or anything, any questions related up till now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. We'll go to the cell composition. If a particular cell you take, one particular cell, okay, you'll see that 70% is made up of water. So as the cell also is containing 70% of water, we say when our body is 70% there is water, because we are made up of cells. So you say that the cell is made up of 70% of water. Besides that, 30% is made up of different things. Out of that 30%, it is made up of proteins, it is made up of small molecules, it is made up of RNA. Like you have DNA, you also have RNA. Okay. Then you have phospholipids. Phospholipids are the fat molecules which are forming the border of the cell. Okay, they form the border of the cell. Then you have got DNA and you have polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are the ones that are present inside the cell and they do a lot of other functions also. Okay, so this is basically the cell composition. Next. Okay, we already finished this. We'll go to the next slide. I hope there is no questions.
No question, ma'am.
Ma'am, I didn't understand that part of the structure of the cell in which you were saying that something about the DNA. I didn't understand that.
About DNA.
Yes, ma'am. I couldn't hear properly at that time.
The cell is made up of DNA and the DNA is responsible for a lot of things, because of which you are looking like your parents, not somebody else. That is why how DNA is important for us. Yes.
Ma'am, I didn't understand. Ma'am, can you just give me the names of the scientists who discovered the theory of cells, because I couldn't note them.
You can do one thing. You can, once I finish this, no, you can see the presentation online. If you see it on online, you'll be able to get the entire presentation. So you can aram se note down all the names. Because I still have to go a long way through, If I will stop at, giving you again information, I'll have to go back to the slide. It'll waste a lot of time. If at the
Okay,
end
ma'am.
I've got time, please remind me. We'll go to that slide again. Okay? Because further na, I want to go to the details of each and every part. That will take a little bit time.
Okay, ma'am.
One small thing, Farida.
Huh.
I have been receiving comments from some parents that students are not able to hear. So, who all are facing that problem? For whom the voice is not audible? Are you all able to hear everything properly?
Yes, ma'am. But ma'am, Jia is continuously telling Jia Palish, who's continuously telling that she cannot hear Farida, ma'am.
Okay, so if it's just one or two, I think it'll be a problem at that end. So we will continue. I'll speak to the parents.
Okay. So we'll go to the next slide. Now we're talking about the characteristic of a cell. Any cell which is there, you have to characterize as what the cell looks like, how it is. So cells can be prokaryotic or eukaryotic. When I mean that they are prokaryotic, what do I mean is that they are primitive types. Okay. Next time when we meet, we'll be doing about animal classification. So in that you will understand more about prokaryote. The main difference between prokaryote and eukaryote is that in the prokaryote, what I just said, that each cell is made up of a nucleus. That nucleus has a proper wall defined. Okay. If that wall is present, it is going to be eukaryote. If the wall is not present, then it is called as prokaryote. So if the wall is not present, all the contents of the nucleus is in the cell itself only. So everything is mixed together. There is no structure as nucleus inside it. So if you have a structure called as nucleus, you call it prokaryote. And prokaryotes will be in the advanced level of organisms. Okay, the primitive type of organisms means the ones that were, if we believe the Big Bang theory, the ones that were there before and were getting evolved one after the other. So the first ones won't have that cell, that nucleus. So they are called as prokaryote. So for right now, just remember, if you have a well-defined nucleus, then it is eukaryote in the advanced levels. If you don't have a nucleus wall, then they are called as prokaryotes. Okay? Cells can be motile or non-motile. Cells, if on their own they are moving, I'm talking if on their own, not moving because of something. If on their own they are moving, they must be having some way of moving. Like if we are moving, we are having legs to move. We are moving on our legs. So that is motility for us. That is why we are mobile. That is how we are moving. So cells may have structures which help them to move. Okay, if they have those, then they may be motile, and if they don't have those, they will be non-motile. Cells have different shapes and sizes. We saw that initially only. Okay, and very important, animal cell is different from plant cell. Okay, we'll go further down the line and we'll see how different they are. But remember, animal cells and plant cells are different. They have different characteristics. Yes,
Excuse
70
me,
to
ma'am.
80% of it would be same. 70 to 80% would be same. But there will be something which will make them different. And that is how you say animal cells are different from plant cells.
Excuse
Yes.
me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, can you please give some examples of prokaryotic and eukaryotic?
Prokaryotic examples would be amoeba, paramecium, euglena, hydra. They all are prokaryotes. Okay. In the eukaryotes, you have got examples like human beings, the human being cells, the muscle cells, the nervous cells, and so on. So prokaryote would be amoeba, paramecium, euglena, hydra. Okay, and eukaryotic would be any cell that we are talking about. Motile cells, again paramecium, it has got cilia, it can move. Okay, euglena, again it has got flagella, it can move. In the non-motile, you can talk about nerve cells. They don't move, they are fixed in its place. They will not move. The muscle cells also, they are not moving, they're fixed in its place. Yes, they're contracting and relaxing. That is not called moving. It means they're moving, they're not mobile. I'm talking about mobility, moving from one place to the other. Yes.
Ma'am, what about
Thank you,
blood?
ma'am.
Huh.
Ma'am, what about blood cells?
Huh. Blood cells are again not moving. The RBC, WBC platelets, they are not moving. They are being moved by the plasma. That's why we study plasma is giving the cells liquid form and they are able to move. They are not moving on their own. They are being moved by the plasma.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Next slide. Now we come to the cell organelles. Okay. So we study what are cells, where they are present, different types, different shapes, everything. Okay. Now we're talking about cell organelles. Means the parts of a cell are called as cell organelles. Okay. So a cell contains mainly three main parts. Three main parts are there. Which is the first part? The first part is called as the plasma membrane. The first part. So plasma membrane is the outermost covering that a cell has got. So if you're on the left side, you see the green color structure is called as the plasma membrane. Okay. Inside the plasma membrane, there is a very thick jelly-like fluid which we call as cytoplasm. Okay, we call it as the cytoplasm. So this is a very thick jelly-like material. Okay, and inside that you can see one small bulb-like structure, the blue color, and that is the nucleus with a proper, well-defined nuclear wall. Okay, so these are the three main structures. The plasma membrane, you have got inside the cytoplasm, and the main controlling structure of it would be the nucleus. Compare a cell to a room in your house, or compare the cell. We normally compare it. You'll get lot of analogies of cell if you go on the internet, and you'll find lot of analogies of a cell as you can compare it to a industry. Okay, so let's say the compound of the factory is your is your plasma membrane. Okay, compound. The flooring is called as the cytoplasm, on which everything is placed. Okay, and the nucleus is the main CEO's office, where all the main decisions are done and the information is passed to whoever, whatever has to do the work. Okay, so these three are the main structures: the plasma membrane, the cytoplasm, and the nucleus. Okay, then inside it you will find a lot of many other departments. What they are, how they are, we'll go one by one into each one of that. Okay, so here you can see how complicated one cell is. There are so many parts involved around it, but the three main parts: plasma membrane, cytoplasm, and the nucleus. First, we'll talk about the cytoplasm. The plasma membrane. The plasma membrane is the part that is all around the cell. Okay, and it is made up of fat cells, which are also called as lipids, phospholipids. So this is how the structure is, they are like long and they have got bulbs, on the top and below. So they've got bulby things. Now what happens is, because of this kind of structure, anything that has to come into the cell or go out of the cell, the entry and exit becomes very, very easy. It is not like the compound wall, that nothing can come at all inside and nothing can go outside. It is like kind of a gate system where things can be allowed inside and can be allowed to go outside. Why you need things to come inside? You need that food that you had taken to come inside. Need oxygen that you have breathed to come inside the cell, so that it will react, it will produce energy for you. And the waste material in that process which is made has to go outside. So just imagine it like a factory only, everything raw material has to come in, the final material will be produced, and the waste material has to be thrown out. So this is exactly how the plasma membrane structure looks like. It is very complicated for you all at this level. You all don't need to go into it. Okay, but just sometimes if you do come across this kind of structure, you will identify that this is the plasma membrane of a cell. Next. Okay, we're talking about the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is the jelly-like material, or it's like the floor. Okay, so if something is jelly-like, what will it do? It will catch everything to itself, right? It will not let, it's very sticky. It will not let anything go outside. So all the materials inside the cells, all the parts of the cells are very well stuck into your cytoplasm, and it's mainly composed of water and lot of salts. Here by salt, I don't mean NaCl. There are many other salts. There may be NaCl, there may be KCl, there may be phosphate salt, there may be nitrite salt. Lot of salts are there. So there's lot of water and lot of salts also present inside the cytoplasm. Okay. The cytoplasm is properly well defined in the cell membrane. Okay, and it will contain all the cell parts and the cell organelles. Okay, so this structure that you see is an animated structure. When you will see it in the microscope, you will see the one that is on the right side. So you will see a cell wall, you will see, or a cell membrane that I'm talking about, the plasma membrane. You can also call it plasma membrane. You can also call it cell membrane. Both the names are same. Okay. And you will see some material inside that will be the cytoplasm. And inside that you will see one particular big hole or one particular big different color that would be your nucleus. So the right structure that you see, the right one is what you can see under the microscope. Okay. Next. Now we go to the third important part, that is the nucleus. The nucleus again contains of a nuclear membrane. Okay, the nucleus is again containing of a nuclear membrane, which here is given by the name of nuclear envelope. So it is named as nuclear envelope here. Okay, inside the nuclear envelope, there will be nucleoplasm. Like there was cytoplasm, in the nucleus there is again nucleoplasm, okay, which is again the floor for the nucleus. So if you see a CEO's office, there will be again, it is guarded. Again, it has got a cabin. That cabin is like the nuclear envelope, okay, and there is again floor, which you're calling it as the nucleoplasm because it is in the nucleus. And inside that the CEO is sitting, who you're calling as the nucleolus. The main boss of the factory is who is sitting there, who you're calling as the nucleolus. The nucleoplasm contains a lot of, again, water and salts. Okay, but the nucleolus, that the boss, contains the main point. It contains the DNA material. The DNA material which we spoke about is contained inside the nucleolus. So you can imagine how important the DNA is. It is in the nucleolus, which is in the nucleus, which is in the cytoplasm, guarded by the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Correct? That's how important the DNA structure is. Okay. So finish the three main parts: the the cytoplasm, the plasma membrane, and the third one is the nucleus. Okay. Next. Now we have got an important part of the cell, which we called as the endoplasmic reticulum. What the endoplasmic reticulum is? Can you see the yellow structure which is extending from the nucleus? So it will start from the nucleus. Okay, from the nuclear membrane, it is going to start. Right where you can see the blue color, that is the nuclear wall. Okay. From the nuclear wall, the endoplasmic reticulum is starting, and it is going round. Okay, like half rounds, like a maze, kind of like a maze. It is there. Okay, so the endoplasmic reticulum is made up of small, what we call as setae. We call it as setae. Okay, small setae. Okay. And they all are going in this kind of maze kind of a format. Okay, and it is this place where the proteins are being folded. Proteins whichever are manufactured are being folded and are being transported to your outside of the cell. Okay, so from here, the proteins which are being formed will go to the outside of the cell. Okay, if you can see in that yellow part, you will see there are dots. Okay, so some endoplasmic reticulum have the dots, and if you can see behind, there are brown color pipe like endoplasmic reticulum which has no dots. So when you have the dots, you call them as rough endoplasmic reticulum. When you don't have the dots, you call them as the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So in short form, you can write it as SER for smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and for rough, you will write it as RER. Now, what that points are, what those dots are, they are the ribosomes. So whenever a cell has to manufacture proteins, the cell is going to, the nucleus is going to give the command to the ribosomes. So the ribosome is the main manufacturer of the protein. Okay, it is the main place where the proteins that our body requires are being produced. And after they are being produced, they have to be specially bundled up. The proteins what the ribosomes are producing are like those long chain like necklace, that pearl necklace that I've been always talking about. Okay, so the proteins are being made into long chains. Now those long chains have to be folded in a particular manner so that they get active. Okay, you can't get those long chains falling everywhere in the body. They have to be folded in a particular manner. That folding is done in the endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, so if your endoplasmic reticulum has those dotty or the ribosomes, then they're called as rough endoplasmic reticulum. If they don't have those, then you call them as smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, clear? Next. Now we're talking about the Golgi bodies. The Golgi bodies are like the postman of the cell. Okay, whatever bundled up proteins were made in the endoplasmic reticulum. So from the cell, the information was passed to ribosomes. The ribosomes made the proteins were passed to the endoplasmic reticulum. In the endoplasmic reticulum, they got bundled up. Okay, so let's imagine you are into a glucose, you get those Parle G glucose biscuits. You are in that factory. The main CEO gave the order that make 100 glucose. So the ribosome made those glucose biscuits. Okay, the line of workers, that is the endoplasmic reticulum, they packed it into packets. Okay, and now it is the assembly line which is now going to transport it from the factory where it was produced to outside the cell. Okay, so that is going to be done by the Golgi bodies. So the Golgi bodies, here you can see the Golgi bodies in the pink. Okay, they are also somewhat, they are looking like the endoplasmic reticulum only. You can see that. Okay, but the endoplasmic reticulum is mainly, you'll find it near the nucleus. These you are finding a little bit far from the nucleus, because whatever that packaging was done was near the nucleus. Now it has to be transported towards outside the cell. Okay. So it will bundle up all the proteins and everything that was synthesized and transport it to some different organelles or to outside the cell. That is a function of your Golgi apparatus. You call it as Golgi apparatus. You also call it as Golgi bodies. Okay. Next. Now this is the main important part of the cell, the mitochondria. This is exactly how the mitochondria looks. On the left side, you can see there is a there is a wall kind of a structure, and in the wall it is a maze. What does the mitochondria do? It is the powerhouse of the cell. It is where the power is being generated so that the nucleus can give orders to the ribosomes. The ribosomes can produce the proteins. The endoplasmic reticulum can manufacture and can bundle up the proteins, and then that was transported by the Golgi bodies to some other body parts. So this all energy is being produced by the mitochondria. Okay, when we did the respiration, we spoke about two types of respiration. We spoke about external respiration, that was when you're breathing in oxygen and you're breathing out carbon dioxide. There was one more that is called as internal respiration. In the internal respiration, I showed you that in the cell there is a structure called as mitochondria. It is this mitochondria in which a very, very complex method takes place, because of which the glucose that you had taken in from your food and the oxygen that you had taken in from your breathing process, they both are going to undergo a chemical reaction in the mitochondria. In the mitochondria, very complex chemical reaction takes place, because of which you get production of energy in the form of ATP. ATP, the full form is called as adenosine triphosphate. So for every one glucose molecule, you are producing 38 ATPs. I'm talking about one glucose molecule. So when you're just having one particular bread, okay, that particular bread is called as the carbohydrate, correct? The carbohydrate. So if they are the carbohydrates, that carbohydrate is going to be made up of many small glucose. How many glucose are there in that one particular bread? Probably thousands. So if you are having one bread, you are producing one that, let's imagine for a rough number that there are 1,000 glucose molecules in that one slice of bread. You are producing 38,000 ATPs if one particular slice of bread is eaten. Okay, so I'm talking about one glucose molecule. We spoke about how in digestion the food that you're eating is getting broken down into simpler molecules. Very small pearls of, pearls. We are coming to the pearl levels. That one pearl that I'm talking about, carbohydrate, is the glucose molecule, and that one glucose molecule will give you 38 ATPs, which is being generated by your mitochondria, which is called as the powerhouse of the cell. You also called as the energy currency of the cell. Okay, next. Ribosome. Ribosome is where the proteins are being made. Lot of proteins are required in our entire body for body maintenance, for damages that are done, for repairing work, for any other work. All those proteins which the body requires is being made by the ribosomes. This is entirely how, this is an animated form of how the ribosome structure is working in a cell. You know, there would be a line. On that line, the production of, you can see the small amino acids. There's different color of amino acids. Those are the pearls of your proteins. The pearls of proteins that I'm talking about is called as amino acids. So after one amino acids are being done, you will get a long chain of amino acids, which you call as proteins. Now that will go into a particular uh, so, you know, let's imagine, I can give you this example, you'll understand it much better. If you want to make a furniture, you will have to first take the wood from the tree. That wood from the tree is now, you know, cut and it is being layered into and made into slabs of wood, which we take from the wood shop, and it is called as the wood plywood. So you get big sheets of plywood. Okay, now that plywood that was there, now it is being cut by your carpenter and made into furniture, probably a chair or a table or a bed that you want to make. So imagine that these amino acids or proteins are like those plywoods, and your endoplasmic reticulum is the one who is giving it the shape that it has to take. Okay. When we'll study about proteins, we'll study that proteins are of two types. One is essential proteins and one is non-essential proteins. Essential proteins are the ones that your body needs. You can't manufacture them. So there are some proteins that our body cannot manufacture, but there are some proteins that our body can manufacture. So you don't need to replenish yourself those kind of proteins. Okay, so that is how the manufacturing of protein is done by your ribosomes. Correct? Next. Okay, lysosomes. Lysosomes are the organelles that are involved as a kind of a sewage treatment plant kind of a thing for your cell. Okay, that is where the garbage, all the waste materials are going inside it, and they're cleaning it. Okay, so they are also called as the name for the lysosome. There's a name, they're called as the suicide bags of the cell. So what happens? Certain times the cell gets infected with something that will destroy the entire cell. Okay, so in that process, to protect itself and to protect the other cells that are around it, the lysosome will eat the entire cell that it is present in. And so the lysosomes are called as the suicide bag of the cell. Okay, so if particular microorganism is there in your body, in that particular cell, and it is of a nature which that lysosome can handle. Okay, I'm talking about handling at the lysosome level. If it can handle, it will digest, it will eat the entire cell by itself. And so it is called as the suicide bag. Okay. Besides that, it contains a lot of digestive enzymes. This is how I'm talking, the digestion takes place because it has got a lot of enzymes. And they'll also digest certain worn out, for example, see all these organelles that I'm talking about, they'll not be one. Only nucleus will be one in quantity. There will be hundreds of Golgi bodies, there will be 50 of ribosomes. There will be hundreds of mitochondria. If one of those organelle is not working well, then this lysosome will digest that. Okay. So it
So,
is like
ma'am,
the
is
way.
it a good cell or a bad cell?
It is not a good cell or bad cell. It is a part of the cell. It is the waste treatment plant of the cell. It is where all the garbage is put into the cell. The cell's garbage is going into the lysosomes. It is a part of a cell. You can't say it's a good cell or a bad cell. How can you say good cell? I'm talking about the parts of a cell. How can you say good cell or bad cell? Are you still confused? I'm not talking about types of cells. I'm talking about the parts of the cells. Like in your house, consider your house to be one cell. So we spoke about the kitchen, we spoke about the bedroom, we spoke about the hall, we spoke about the fan, we spoke about the floor. Okay, so we are not talking about different types of flats, different types of houses. We're not talking about different types of cells. We're talking about the parts of the cell. So this is the part of the cell which is doing the function of waste removal. Okay, next. Now let's come to the main point and let's see the difference between the plant cell and the animal cell. Okay. Now, if you see, there is a cell membrane. See, all the black ones are the ones that are common for plant cell and animal cell both. Okay. The left side below there are parts in green. Okay. So those are the parts found only in plant cells. The red parts are found only in the animal cell. Okay. So we'll go one by one. Cell membrane is present in both of them. Okay. Cell membrane present in both the cells. Nucleus present in both of them. Nucleolus or in both the cells. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum, rough endoplasmic reticulum, both of them again present in the plant animal cell. Ribosomes are important for both. Okay, mitochondria present in both. Golgi apparatus cell. The vacuole is very big. The vacuole is in
Farida, you're not audible.
Ma'am, your
totally
voice is
excess
cutting.
Ma'am, your voice is
water.
cutting.
Okay. So
Farida, Farida, your
the
voice is not audible.
plant cell does not
Excuse me, ma'am, your
Ma'am,
voice is
your voice-
breaking.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll just wait for ma'am to rejoin. Okay. Because of the bad weather in Pune, I think the network, everybody is having a network issue today.
okay. Now I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible now.
Okay. So if we see the plant cells, the plant cell has a big vacuole. The animal cell has a small vacuole. The reason being, this plant doesn't have a fridge where it can store the food. So the plant has to store the food and the water for itself in the cell itself. So the vacuole is the storage of the cell. The vacuole will store all the extra material required whenever. So for plant cells, you have a big vacuole which is going to store the food and the water. For animal cells, it is not required. So the animal cell can have a very small vacuole. This is one first major difference between both of them. Okay. The other difference is chloroplast cells are present in plants but not present in animals, because animals don't require chloroplast. Animals cannot prepare their own food. Even if you color yourself green and go into the sun and stand, you will not be able to manufacture. Okay, because you don't have chloroplast. So chloroplasts are present only in the animal cells. Okay. Besides that, the plant cells have to be very sturdy. They are standing in the sun, in the rain, in all the weather. So for an extra protection, God has given extra wall. Besides the compound wall, there is one extra wall that is there around it, which is called as the cell wall of the cell. The cell wall is giving it the sturdiness the cell requires. So plant cells, the vacuole is big, chloroplast is present, and there is cell wall. And there is presence of plasmodesmata, which are some small pores, because of which the materials can pass easily through them. Okay. As opposed to that, the animal cells have presence of lysosomes, which we spoke about. Those lysosomes are not present in the plant cells. There is presence of centrioles. Centrioles are an apparatus which is required for reproduction of cells. So for the reproduction of cells, centrioles are required, and along with that also centrosomes. So these both structures, centrioles and centrosomes, are present only in animal cells and they are not present in plant cells. Okay. Is the differentiation between plant and animal cells clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Next slide. So this is comparing a cell organelle to a factory part. The nucleus, I'm comparing it to a control room where the main CEO is sitting, and he is containing the information, the DNA. The DNA is the factory manager who is saying that, okay, now you're going to make protein. He is the one who will give the orders. Ribosomes are the assembly workers who are making the proteins. The endoplasmic reticulum is the production line that is finishing the protein and finally transporting it. Okay, then lysosomes are the custodians which are breaking down the proteins whenever not required, or whenever faulty, or whenever something is wrong. The mitochondria are the power generators, the powerhouse of the cell, which is making the ATP by the process of cellular respiration. The Golgi bodies is the shipping department, which is finally shipping the products, whatever you have found, wherever it has to go. The cytoplasm is like the interiors, whatever is there in the the space, the floor. The vesicles are again a part of the Golgi bodies only. Golgi bodies, another name for Golgi bodies is also vesicles. They is which is not, they are not like the shape which you saw. They are small round shape. So transportation becomes very easy. They can transport very easily. Vacuoles, the warehouse, which is storing all the food, and the membrane is the fence, security fence, which regulates all the things in and going out. Okay, so whenever you have time, you can go on the Google, you can search for analogies of a cell, you will find lots of analogies you will find, and you can read it, you can enjoy it, and you'll understand the function of the cell much better. Next.
Ma'am, your voice is not clear.
My voice is not clear. The ma'am itself also has disconnected.
Yes,
You
ma'am,
can't
your
see the,
voice is not clear.
no, but the projection.
Sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear you.
Can you see the presentation?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, I guess
Sorry.
ma'am left.
Ma'am left. The message came. Ma'am left.
Ma'am will come back again.
Ma'am, now she joined.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what I told you all was that you can go on the net, you can go and find analogies for yourself. You will enjoy seeing the analogies and you'll understand the functioning of a cell very well. Next slide. Okay. A cell is very small, right? We saw it is very, very small. And the cell organelles are more smaller to that. So the cell is in the structure of microscope range, but the cell organelles are in the range of nanometer range. To see nanometer structures, you required a more precision microscope, and that is the transmission electron microscope. So transmission electron microscope is like, you can see on the left side the black and white picture, the whole big structure. It is as big as, from your ceiling to your floor, how big, how tall it is. So this was discovered by Ernst Ruska by 1931. So it was in this time when he discovered this transmission electron microscope, and we came to know the cell organelles. We could see them, we could study the functions of them. And because of that, they were also presented a Nobel Prize in 1986 for it. Okay. Then in 1953, because of the discovery of DNA, Watson and Crick became very, very famous. They were the people who discovered the structure of DNA, how it is. It is a double helix structure. It has got certain codes present on it. And because of which the molecular biology techniques came into the picture. So you have got Watson and Crick. So there are a lot of scientists in the cell biology department. Okay, and you have to appreciate each one of them, because of which today you're sitting and you're studying all these things. And we are coming to a breakthrough that today, even though the coronavirus, whatever is there, we are able to make a vaccine easily against it by studying the structure of it. So that
Ma'am,
is how important the cell biology is.
ma'am,
Yes. Yes.
ma'am. Ernst August Frederick Resta was a man or two men?
Ernst August and Ruska was a German physicist, one person. He was a man. They were not two men, one man.
Ma'am, Winston and Crick were two scientists.
Yes, Watson and Crick were two different scientists. Okay, next. 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 Okay. So this is exactly what you do. I told you, from the onion, you will take a peel of the onion. This is whenever we meet next in the lab, we'll be doing this experiment. We'll be taking a peel of the onion and you'll be able to see inside it. So you'll be able to see the cells of an onion. Onion
Ma'am,
cells.
I've done this experiment.
Very good. Next slide. This is exactly how your onion peel will look inside. You can see the dark blue color. The dark blue color is a cell wall. Because it is a plant cell, correct? Onion is a plant part. It will have cell
Yes,
wall
ma'am.
also. It will have a cell membrane also. Besides that, you'll be able to see a big one that will be a nucleus. And if your microscope is strong enough, you'll be able to see vacuoles also. So vacuoles are a little bit bigger. You can see in the microscope. The rest organelles you can't see in the microscope because they are much smaller to the range that the microscope can detect.
Ma'am, for that we need an electron microscope, aka a nanoscope.
Correct. Okay, next. Y'all can find out on Google, you all can do it yourself also. Prepare a timeline for yourself about how the cell was discovered, the scientists, the type of instruments they were used. You can do this kind of an information gathering for yourself in the free time. Okay, you can find about how you can venture into courses related to cell biology, genetics, and all that. You can study more into it. Okay, next. So cell is the basic unit of life. Some are made up of single cells, some are made up of multi cells, millions and trillions of cells. We human beings are made up of cells, okay? And cells, when they come together, they form the structure what we call as tissues. Tissues, when they come together, they make up organs. Organs make up organ system. Many organ systems make up one particular organism. Next.
Ma'am, can I tell you a fact about
Yeah,
cells?
please say.
Ma'am, there are so many cells in the human body that they can round up the earth.
Correct. Good one. So here one fact, lot of facts are there. The largest cell I told you all is the ostrich cell. The cell word comes from the Latin name cellula because it represented the small cells in which prisoners were kept. The longest cell in the human body is a neuron. One particular neuron can be as big as 4.5 feet also. Okay, right from your lower spinal cord to your toes. It is so big, one of the neuron. The red blood cells are the ones that carry oxygen around your body and they are made inside the bone marrow of your body. One cell contains 2 meters of DNA. One cell, huh? One cell. A human being contains around 10 trillions of cells. The human skin keeps on shedding after every 27 days. You don't even realize it. Cells just fall off your body. You don't even realize. I said mitochondria is called as the powerhouse of the cell. Hmm? Um, Alzheimer's disease and diabetes, such kind of diseases where your body is not able to maintain. So the cell manufacturing, repairing work is stopped, and that is why you get certain diseases. Okay, and the body was discovered by a scientist Camillo Golgi in around 1898. Okay, he discovered that how the cell is made up of uh, a ribbon-like apparatus, and that is why it's got the name Golgi apparatus. Okay, lots of facts you will find. These are some of them. You just told me one fact that there are so many, there's so much DNA in our body, huh? That it can round up the entire world. Okay, next. So we finished the topic of cells, what the cell part contains, the difference between plant cells and animal cells. Okay, please go today and read this topic. It is very interesting. Read it, read on the Google. You do so much time pass. You can definitely spare like half an hour, not more than that, on this. So you will really enjoy it. You will able to keep it in your mind also. Okay. Any doubts related to this?
No, ma'am.
No doubt. No doubts, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, what is the function of plasmodesmata?
The plasmodesmata is like the other doors, which allows the things to come inside and go in a plant cell. Any more questions?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay.